There's just been a drone strike and a passerby is filming the aftermath on their mobile phone. The women and children who are screaming had been queuing at a distribution point for nutritional supplements. The presumed targets, two men carrying backpacks, are lying dead across the street. A UNICEF aid worker gave us this footage of the same incident. In all, 15 were reported killed, including 8 children. The Israeli army told us they had killed a Hamas terrorist who participated in the October the 7th attacks, and that this incident is under review. At the nearest hospital, these are the pictures we can just about broadcast of those still battling for life. What we can't show you are the 3- and 4-year-olds lying dead nearby. Their bodies so small that they look like broken dolls. The Israeli army told us it does as much as it can to minimize harm to what it calls uninvolved individuals. In the hospital morgue, a mother is saying goodbye to her 14-year-old daughter. Her son is grieving too. It must happen quickly because the living and the dead are wilting beside one another in the summer heat. And the hospital needs all the space it can get.
والله ما عملت حاجة والله بريئة والله كان حلمها بس تخلص الحرب اليوم يقولوا يعلموا وترجع على المدرسة والله هيك بتقول لي والله لا اكل بس 4 رغفة بدي اكل 5 رغفة على الوجبة حلمها تاكل ايش ده حلمها اللي طفلي يا الله راح يما حلمك يا حبيبتي.
The Israeli army is showing no sign of leaving southern Gaza, and unless Hamas agrees to disarm, it probably won't. In the meantime, Palestinians are on the move once again, waiting for a 60-day ceasefire, which a senior Israeli official says may not be agreed for another week or two. And even if it is agreed, Israel's Prime Minister hinted in Washington that it may not last. His immediate goal, the release of 10 living hostages.
We have the right of self-defense at any time, and I think that's widely recognized. I think on these matters, which I always prefer to negotiate not in front of a camera, I think there's a good chance we'll have this ceasefire, and that'll get us closer to the goal that I set from the beginning.
In Khan Yunis, Palestinians are left scrabbling in search of survivors after an overnight Israeli airstrike. 3 children and their mother are among the dead, and then her 4th child is freed from the rubble, too late to save her. Yet it looks almost normal back on the street where the drone attack killed 15 only this morning. Apart from the abandoned sandal near a small crater and the blood-stained pavement where mothers and children had been sitting. Every body is counted, every life remembered, before it is laid to rest. I'm joined now by Hamish Young, who is UNICEF's emergency coordinator inside Gaza itself. And I gather, Hamish, that you visited the hospital after this drone strike that occurred this morning.
Good morning, Jonathan. Yes, I did. Myself and a couple of colleagues went to Alaska Hospital, and we met a number of the people who'd been severely affected by this drone strike.
What did you see? I mean, we've got reports that women and children were among the dead. Can you describe the scene at the hospital?
The scene at the hospital was even more chaotic than normal. That's a hospital that a lot of injured people come into on a regular basis. I've been there often. It was even worse this morning. We met a couple of the patients, met a young mother, Domina, which was just tragic. She was lying in the bed with multiple shrapnel wounds. And she was, Jonathan, she was clutching a single, sort of like a baby bootie, a baby shoe. And she told us that she'd been at the nutrition site waiting her turn when the hit came with 2 children. One of them was Mohammed, who was 1 year old. And she told us just this morning he'd said mama for the first time. he'd been killed. Her other child, Emad, was 10 years old, is 10 years old. He was at the hospital too, in another part of the hospital, in ICU actually, being treated for chest and thigh shrapnel injuries. I have been here since November 2023, and this is one of the worst things I've seen today. I think, yeah, I am somewhat shaken up by what I saw this morning. I think that's only natural, but definitely this is one of the worst incidents I've seen personally since I've been here.
We've asked the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, for a statement, and they said to us that their target had been a Hamas terrorist who'd been involved in the October the 7th attacks. You don't have any reason to doubt that, do you? I mean, that may well indeed be true.
I have no comment on who the targets were, but I did speak to multiple people who were at the scene. We visited the scene after the hospital, and they reported that there were two men walking up the street carrying backpacks. So I have no comment whatsoever. I have no reason to question the targeting, but they'd been walking up what was largely an empty street, and then past the nutrition centre where there were a crowd of people waiting, and then the rest of the street, this is an area I know very well, was empty. As you know, Jonathan, under international law, all parties to conflicts are under an obligation to avoid civilian casualties.
So you're saying that this armed drone could have struck at a moment where there weren't civilians around. Is that what you're saying?
All the people I spoke to said that the two guys walking up the street were there were a period, a couple of minutes where they were on the street where there were no civilians. They did walk past the nutrition crowd, the people, and then were going further. Well, it appeared they were going further up the street. From the eyewitness reports, it strongly suggests that they could have been hit prior to being in the crowd or next to the crowd or just afterwards.
Well, what the Israelis say is that they regret anybody uninvolved who may have been affected and that this incident is under review. Do you take that statement seriously?
I mean, we have to take that statement seriously, and just strongly hope that review is effective. That whatever the findings are, there's some accountability and some lessons learned. We have to take that statement seriously.
I suppose seeing what you've seen this morning, the scene you've seen in the hospital, the scene that you've described, the news that an Israeli official is saying it may take 1 or 2 weeks before a 60-day ceasefire can be agreed, that must sound like an awfully long time to you.
I mean, this has been, about 20 months of an absolutely dire, horrific war. Every day that this war goes on, every day that children are killed and injured, every day that we're not able to bring supplies in for children's is a day too long. We need a ceasefire, a comprehensive ceasefire and a lasting ceasefire for the sake of the children and the women in Gaza immediately. So every day is too long, 2 weeks is way too long. We need a ceasefire now.
And do you think it was coincidental that there was this child nutrition point near the target of this morning's attack? And does that mean that there now is no distribution of nutritional supplements in that particular place?
I've no idea whether it was coincidence or not. I mean, it's not for us to speculate on the targeting decisions. I would reiterate my points earlier. Under international law, all parties to the conflict are under a strict obligation to minimise civilian casualties. There's no one that would argue with that. With this particular site, no, there's no more nutrition supplies being distributed there for obvious reasons. And I could just say, Jonathan, there is a desperate shortage of supplies for treating malnourished kids right across the Gaza Strip. because of the the near complete blockade of humanitarian assistance. We don't have enough water, we don't have enough food, don't have enough medical supplies. In particular, the lack of fuel is becoming a very acute crisis. We're essentially run out of fuel. We don't have enough fuel to run water desalination and wells. We don't have enough fuel for the trucks that distribute the water. We don't have enough fuel for the hospitals. There are children, babies on incubators and ventilators who are really, really at risk of those being turned off when the fuel for the generators that supports them runs out.
We should add to that, though, that the European Union is saying it's just negotiated access with the Israelis for a large delivery of aid. You must be very relieved to hear that.
I'll be relieved when it comes. I'll be relieved when it's actually here in our warehouses being distributed to our partner organisations. Until that happens, I have nothing to say, because we've been told over and over and over again about all sorts of different breakthroughs and progress and things like that. Until the aid actually reaches us and we can distribute it freely, I won't get excited about anything.
Hamish Young from UNICEF inside Gaza, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Jonathan.